Learn how one Tripawds member and her dog Ari rocked the obedience and rally world with a successful campaign to allow amputee dogs to compete in AKC events on this 100th episode of Tripawd Talk Radio.
And scratching like a three-legged dog.
Hello and welcome to the 100th episode of Tripawd Talk Radio in our virtual headquarters here. We have to stay still.
We have to stay very still.
Being our 100th episode, we have some really exciting news to share in the rally and obedience world that is helping everyone see that Tripawds rule. With us today, I am Jim Nelson, admin at Tripawds.
I'm Rene, aka Jerry.
And with us today, we have Tripawd Ari's mom, Carolyn, and Diane Schultz from the American Kennel Club. And Renee is going to tell you why this is so exciting.
It is such a huge deal. Thank you so much, ladies, for being here.
Thank you for having us.
You bet. You bet. Now, Carolyn, it was about a year ago when you first reached out to let us know what you and Ari were trying to do, right?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
And what was it you were trying to do?
Yeah, let's have you kick this off. What exactly were you and Ari on a mission to accomplish?
Okay, well, I went to see a litter of puppies, and this little puppy runt came out with a twisted leg, which I had broken. So, and paw appeared to be badly infected. So I couldn't get her out of my, I let get her out of my mind. I'm like, what's this guy gonna puppy that looks like that? Someone's gonna buy her. So I'm going back and getting her and basically just going to fix her up and rehome because I wanted an agility dog. If I was gonna get another puppy, my Chase is an agility dog and my next puppy would be. So I took her, the paw was very badly infected. Went and saw 3 or 4 different vets, even orthopedic vets, to see if the leg could be saved. And they all came to the conclusion after x-rays that there was no break, but it was nerve damage in her shoulder, and that eventually her leg would give out and she would not be able to support her body with the leg. It would amputate it. So I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen? We maybe put her down now and put her out of her. They said, no, 3-legged dogs can have a great. Okay. So 2 weeks where the leg was literally dragging. She no longer had any support. It was just dragging. And at 10 weeks, we made the decision to amputate.
Wow, she was really young.
I had, 5 or 6 people. Yeah. Well, I got her at 6 weeks and 10 weeks later, yep. So I had a bunch of people, 5 or 6 people that actually wanted her and would take her. But every time she was getting ready to go, I'm like, she needs another week. I think she needs a little more time. And eventually I just could not get rid of her. And just what all my friends told me from the get-go, you're going to keep that puppy. And I kept that puppy. I just couldn't let her go.
Oh, good for you.
And how long ago was that?
She's 18 months old now, so
okay, so she's still really young.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Okay, now tell us, how did you decide that being in rally and obedience and these sorts of competitions would be something that she would enjoy? How did you know? Did she show you when you first got her?
Well, from day one, once she was able to figure out how to use that one leg, which took her a couple of hours, she started hopping up and down the deck stairs. The next day after surgery, hopping down the stairs. I'm like, wow, this dog's really athletic. Holy cow. I never knew anything about rally, never heard about rally, knew a little bit about obedience from 40 years ago, never did it. But I had agility dog, but people would say, hey, have you ever thought about rally? I'm like, what is that? So they explained it. Well, the club that I belonged to decided to start doing some rally classes. So I had Chase start doing rally, and I started working Ari with some of the rally stuff, and she was actually doing better than Chase. I'm like, whoa. So virtual rally came out, and a couple of my friends, we bought a kit and we set up one of the AKC courses in my backyard. We filmed Chase, we filmed my friend's dog. We were about ready to pick up the course. And I said, wait a minute, let's try Ari. So I went and got her leash and collar, and I thought she'd play with the cards. I thought she was going to play with the signs and romp around. But the minute I put her on my side, we went through that course and she aced it. And I'm like,
Wow.
Holy cow. I'm like, get the camera. Let's film this.
That's
so we
awesome.
filmed it. We filmed it, and I'm like, okay, this is something that she can do. So I was all set to start getting her, getting an application ready for her and Chase for their rally. Until a friend of mine said, well, you better check, because maybe dogs can't do this. I said, well, the website doesn't say that. Inquired with AKC. I said, asked the question. I sent an email, and Janice answered, and she said, no, I'm sorry, three-legged do this. I said, why not? And she said that they are considered lame and lack of locomotion. And I'm like, well, my dog's not lame, and she does not lack locomotion. She's got a lot of lack of locomotion. And she goes, well, I'm sorry, that's the rules. She cannot compete. Well, I'm sorry, I can't accept that, because you got to come up with something better than that. So we had a conversation, and she said, well, AKC has now let. Go ahead.
So I want to take a stop right there. And Diane, let's go ahead and introduce you into the conversation. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do with the AKC, and give us an explanation of rally and obedience? Because I know a lot of people are very familiar with agility, but fewer people, I didn't know anything about rally and obedience until a few years ago. So can you fill us in there?
Sure. As a AKC employee, I'm an American Kennel Club field representative for the sports of obedience and rally. And basically, before the pandemic struck, I was traveling the country, basically helping clubs and or judges put on events. And certainly we also are at events to answer questions for the fancy and all of that sort of thing. And how Carolyn and I kind of connected was when she was having this conversation with Janice. It was basically, I think it was like maybe April, May, probably a little bit before that. But because of the pandemic, we had a lot of staff laid off at AKC. So I was managing the sport pages, the email pages, and Carolyn had again reached out to Janice, thinking she was talking to Janice, and I let her know that Janice had been laid off, and so Carolyn and I started the conversation. So that's kind of how we met up, and it was probably around May or June when we first connected this past summer. To get back to your original question, what is rally and obedience? Obedience has been a sport within AKC, a competition sport for 80 plus years now. It was formed many, many years ago, basically to show that a dog could behave in public and follow basic obedience commands and be a well-behaved pet is really what that started. Rally has been around now for about, I think, maybe 15 years. And rally came about, a gentleman actually in the Midwest that had been very involved in obedience, started doing what we call rally. And basically rally is almost sophisticated doodling of obedience pieces of exercises. The sit, the down, the stand, the come, certainly the recalls and maneuvers, moving around their human being, moving from side to side, that sort of thing. And staying with their person on a loose leash, because that's what a good obedience dog does. So that's kind of how rally came into being. And it is a very popular entry-level type of competition sport, because you can talk to your dog throughout the competition. Where in obedience, you have to go more silent. You give commands, but then you're quiet. The judge is a more integral part of obedience than they are in rally. So rally is less intimidating to a lot of people new into coming into competitions, because the judge basically says, forward, you start the course and do the course on your own, you and your dog. And then once you cross the finish line, you're basically done. So it's a lot more fun. You do it at your own speed and pace, so to speak, although you are supposed to move briskly through the course. So yeah, it is timed, but the timing is only for placements for the class. That's the only reason for the timing. So at any rate, Carolyn and I started communicating about Ari and certainly about why can't I compete. And AKC's longstanding policy is that certainly any dog who is lame or appears to be in pain, et cetera, cannot compete in dog sports. And that's for their own well-being. AKC has always been about the well-being of the dogs. And lameness has always been, I basically defined, is any change in locomotion, any type of basically any kind of change in locomotion where the dog exhibits that their four legs are not working as usual in a usual four-legged dog kind of thing. So that's really, the policy, and how long it's been around is forever.
Mm-hmm.
That type of thing.
You know, I've known for a long time that Tripawds have been unable to compete in a lot of events for that reason. And I think, as a Tripawd parent, it's hard not to take that personally, because we all want to believe that Tripawds can do anything a four-legged dog can do. And for many years, people have said that, and vets have said that. And I'd say, like, within the last 10 years or so, orthopedic vets and general practice vets now, a lot of them now understand, sure, they can do anything a four-legged dog can do, but within reason. And
right.
So when you explained to me how this ruling was really for the benefit of the tripod, like, this light went on and I went, oh my God, you're so right. I never looked at it that way. And that was one reason why I was really excited to do this show with you, because I don't want people to see that as an insult and just, a negative viewpoint of tripods in general. So when Ari came along, it was this huge learning experience for all of us. I was so thrilled to hear the latest development. But I'm going to let Carolyn continue on the story with Ari now. So Carolyn, you were on this mission to get the ruling changed to allow tripods. What happened when you and Diane started talking?
Well, Diane was very encouraging. She told me that it's not impossible that it can change, but it is something that hasn't been done in the history of AKC. It's groundbreaking, and that it would take time and patience, which is something that I do not have. I'm not a patient person. So Diane knows that. But in any event, so yeah, she was very encouraging, and said that I told her that I was getting videos together, that I was getting letters of support together. I had a rally judge evaluate several of Ari's performances doing different rally courses, and that judge would have scored her 100 or 98, high 90s. So I'm like, if this dog can excel like this and have a judge score her that high, there's no reason why she can't do it. So I got a bunch of videos of her working a wobble board, swimming out in the lake with no flotation devices, climbing the hay bales. We started scent work. I had videos of her and pictures of her doing scent work. And then I gathered all my letters, had probably about 10, 12 letters. Several I didn't even send because I figured I'd hold them in case I needed them later on. And sent everything to Diane, and she was very appreciative and said that she would get everything sent to the higher ups and whoever needed to see it, and she would start the process. So I was doing backflips.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Diane, what did you think? Did you think there was a chance that this could actually happen?
Oh, absolutely. I've been with AKC about 15 years now, and I've been involved with the sport of dogs for 40 plus. And my background before AKC was as a veterinary technician and assistant. You know, back when I was working in the veterinary clinics, they didn't do amputation. You know, it was not a common thing. And as one of you mentioned, it's really been within the last 10 years where the veterinary community has excelled at amputation. So certainly we can remember many years ago when handicapped people didn't have any support, correct? Long before ADA. So there's always room for change and room for change of thinking. And so yes, when I started the conversation with Carolyn, one of the things to remember is we probably only had 1 or 2 people within the last 3 to 5 years even contact us about interest with a tripod dog. Wow. So you know, there wasn't really any kind of cry for it out there. Carolyn is really the first person that has, you know, that has really pursued this. And certainly I encouraged her to, you know, send me pictures, videos, you know, all sorts of stuff, and that I would forward it to upper management. Not that we weren't already discussing it, because we actually were. Carolyn, and maybe you remember the timeline, but tripod dogs were accepted into scent, into the scent world. But that's a relatively new program, maybe 2 years old. And shortly after they came into the scenting program, I believe then we invited them into tracking. You know, so it's been a very gradual thing. And this is typically how the American Kennel Club does advance, particularly when we're focused on the safety and welfare of the dogs. And that's really our primary thing is making sure that as we open sports to them, that we have safeguards in place. Because as we all know, whether you have a 4-legged dog or a 3-legged dog, and sometimes dogs are pushed past their limits. Just because they enjoy doing something doesn't always mean they should be doing, especially beyond specific limits. Kind of like kids and parents, right?
Absolutely.
So certainly as we advance, and I'm sure that we will, they are being invited into the virtual obedience program starting March 1st. And I think we're all very excited about that. We'll be advancing, you know, hopefully forward with Rally to follow and go hopefully even beyond virtual, you know. So, but as I'm saying, it's about the safety and welfare of the dogs. So I imagine that we will keep them basically able to compete in classes without jumps, as an example, okay? Because we want to make sure that a dog isn't harming themselves by doing jumps. Even though they look like they're happy, we know that the physical body takes a real beating, even a 4-legged dog that has other compromised health issues. So safety and well-being is always first.
Well, we certainly appreciate that. And with that in mind, is this a like blanket decision that like all tripods or even all 4-legged dogs will be accepted, or is it still evaluated on a case-by-case basis? Because there could be someone that may take their tripod and apply for the course too soon after surgery, or a senior tripod who maybe shouldn't be doing these things.
Right, that's a great thought. The way and I don't have the exact wording in front of me, but the way we're wording it is basically that, you know, handicapped dogs, 3-legged dogs, et cetera, are eligible to compete as long as they do not appear to be in pain. So that will be a judgment call. As it is now, when our dogs compete, we're always looking for the regulation state, a degree of willingness.
Yeah.
And as dog people, we know what that looks like. And we know what that dog that really doesn't want to be there doing that looks like. And so Some of the onus is going to come on to the judges, of course, and hopefully as your community, because I know, as dog people, we all have our little niches. It's like we have our breed specialties. So as the Tripawd community, I'm sure also as a group of people, you will encourage and promote. Make sure your dog is, feeling good and happy and willing and physically
and
up to par.
Absolutely.
We hope we all promote that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the reasons why we encourage every Tripawd to have an evaluation by a canine rehabilitation therapist, so that they can find out what their dog's limitations and capabilities are,
which the Tripawds Foundation will pay for.
Yeah. So Carolyn, what did you think when you heard the great news?
Well, I heard it. Oh my God. I heard it through the grapevine. A friend of mine said, you have to see this and look at the wording in this appendix of the meeting minutes of November. And I read it and I literally cried. I'm like, oh my God. So I still wouldn't believe it until Saturday morning. It was a Saturday morning. I said, I have to call Diane and I have to hear it from her or I won't believe it. So I called her up. I'm like, okay, is it true? Is it true? And she said, yes. And it was, oh my God, I was so ecstatic because I didn't even really know if it was actually going to happen. Diane told me, be patient, be patient, be patient. And we're working on it. But I wasn't even sure it was actually going to happen. And when it did, I was beyond excited. I was fist pumping around the house. I was jumping around. It was so exciting that I was so excited that my little girl, as well as all the other Tripawds, are going to get a chance to show their stuff.
So I was
beyond excited.
How long did that process take from the first time you reached out?
Probably the first time I reached out was I actually wrote it down. The end of 2019, was it 19? It took about 11 months.
Okay.
So my first 2019, my first conversation with AKC, where I sent an email to the general AKC rally email requesting information about that, was December 31st, 2019. So almost a year.
And that's understandable considering there was so much to consider, and with an organization as passionate as the AKC, lots of people involved in that process.
And a pandemic.
Not to mention
throw that in there.
Pandemic. That's the truth.
Pretty amazing and impressive. When I heard the news, I just thought, wow, this opens up a whole new avenue for Tripawds to be able to get out there and just have some really good fun with their people. We encourage people when a dog loses a leg to rethink activity. Having fun together isn't just about walks and throwing a ball. There's so many other ways that you can enjoy your time together and build a bond when a dog loses a leg or is born without one. So this is such a great opportunity for more people to learn how to get involved. What do you see next for Ari?
Well, we're getting ready for March 1st. We will be filming on March 1st. So we're getting ready for that because we've been doing Rally, not Obedience. So I have to learn to keep my mouth shut. And I have her, she's been doing some scent work. And we're working on getting started with scent work. She's going to be doing barn hunt in the spring. I can't keep her off the bales of hay in the barn. And so we're working on those type of things. And she's also going to be competing in a couple of different other venues also. So, and this is all her. I mean, if she didn't have that tail wagging and she didn't excel at this stuff and get excited and run and go get her leash, like you guys said, I wouldn't be doing this. But this dog runs and gets her leash. Let's go, mama, let's go. It's time. You're going to train me? Okay, what are we going to do today? So yeah, I have plans for her. And again, I space it out. I make sure she has her rest. I don't do too much. I feed her properly. We work on core strengthening exercises 3 or 4 times a week. And, I want her to have a nice, long, happy life. And that's where we're at.
Definitely going to have that. What a lucky dog. Diane, is there anything you want to add to the conversation before we wrap it up?
No, I think that's really about it. The only point that I would emphasize is what Carolyn just mentioned about core strength and such. That's another avenue that has come into vogue for dogs in the last 5 to 10 years, where we really work on their physical strength and all of that, aside from the sports that they do. And that'll be critically important for tripod dogs as well as it is for our 4-legged dogs. If all they are is couch potatoes and then we take them out and ask them to do all of their crazy games with us, all the more likelihood that they might injure themselves. So that's just another avenue that, keep the dogs working in.
For sure. We're so avid advocates for rehab at Tripawds, and we want to avoid that weekend warrior syndrome, especially when you don't have that spare leg, that the Tripawds Foundation will reimburse anyone who takes a 3-legged animal to a certified rehab therapist for proper evaluation and exercises they can do at home. And people can learn more about that, about the Maggie Moo Fund for Tripawd Rehab at tripawds.org.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Carolyn, for sharing your story. Thank you for Diane for helping this get through. We encourage all Tripawds to share their stories, learn more about Ari in the Tripawds discussion forums. We look forward to seeing some more of those videos, and we encourage everyone else to share their story too.
Great.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you both.
So thank you both for joining us, and you can find more Tripawd Talk Radio at tripawds.com/radio.
He's a 3-legged dog and he's still pretty good.
Thank you for tuning in. Subscribe to Tripawd Talk Radio for more pet amputation tips from experts, and claim your free gift just for listeners at downloads.tripawds.com/podcast.